Hello everyone, how are you? Great. When someone asks us such a question, how are you? What should be our response? And what generally is our response? And what generally we try to hide when certain questions of this sort are asked? Often we lie. We say, oh, I'm great. But dishonest answer, but very civic answer. That makes us to think sometimes. Often we do not observe when we answer, how are you? Do you observe your inner self and say, oh, this is how I feel, and do you express it that way? Is it necessary to express that way? When we train our children, we always encourage them to observe things before making judgments. Number one principle Daaji Maharaj taught that observe and take interest. He emphasized the importance of interest. Only if you have interest, you will begin to observe things. There are ways and ways how to inculcate our children in embracing this principle of taking interest and observe. They will take those kinds of interest, especially children, in which we ourselves are interested first. So they observe and create indirect interest. So it's a cyclical thing. When they grow up, it's a different matter. They take interest based on their own inner voice. While they are growing, this ability to borrow the interest from their surrounding and begin to observe accordingly creates destiny. Moment they start learning things, by the age of 2.5 to 3 onward perhaps, we make them listen to things. When we are sitting quietly in silence, we request our little ones and say, oh, observe what's happening. Try to listen what's happening outside. Do you hear a bird? Close your eyes again and see, do you hear anything else besides the bird? How many birds you hear? You can also ask them to see things. What do you see around? Directions you become aware of. Let's say I'm walking around in the ashram. Often I take my granddaughter with me. She's 2.5 now. At every juncture I would ask her, should I go right or should I go left? This way or this way? She would correctly mention that we should go this way all the time. So by repeatedly asking her in which directions I should go, she remembers that next time my grandfather is going to ask me again. So she keeps her mind very alert. Then I also ask her sometimes, I take her to the terrace and ask her, is it morning or evening? So I have made 2 lines on the terrace. When the sun is with this line, it is morning, and when sun is in this line, it is evening. Now she doesn't look at those markers. She says, oh, it's either morning or evening. And she is able to say, sun will rise this morning from this side, or it will sunset on this side. So the awareness of directions from the very beginning. Often even adults fail to say, even in their own homes, in an apartment building especially, which side sun rises, they'll keep on scratching their head and say, oh, it rises this side. It's a tragedy that, we have to calculate and say, oh, it is rising this way or that way. Similarly, when we visit someone's house or a place, and you happen to take your child with you, ask questions after returning home. What did you see? From which direction did you enter that home? Did you enter from the east or north? How many sofas did you see? What's the color of sofa, or what's the color of the wall and the ceiling? What was that uncle wearing, or auntie, or other children in the house talking about? Take some interest in what messages they were trying to convey through their conversations. So we can upgrade our um, training session. In the beginning, it was, oh, what you're trying to hear, what you're trying to see. Now we are trying to make them feel. What did you feel from that conversation? At any given moment, try to feel how are you feeling at the moment. Not just passing of thoughts, but your inner nuances, how peaceful you are, how calm you are, how still you are, how happy you are, how joyful you are, how blissful you are. See, there is a whole spectrum of all these things. Most people cannot differentiate, even literally, the nuances between happiness, joy, bliss. But if we continue to pay attention, we may not know the words, but you will be able to say this is lighter, this is grosser, this is mediocre. Similarly, if you are feeling sad, find the spectrum of the sadness. So from the beginning, we are training children to start with from the outside world. Later on, reflect on their thoughts, ask them to reflect on their feelings. Later on, as they enter their teenage periods, or their teenage phase, ask them to observe their breath pattern, how they're breathing, fast, slow. When they're happy, let them observe this breathing. When they're angry, let them observe their breathing style. During daytime, how does your nostril behave? During evenings, mornings, night, observe these nostril passages. Don't give them answers and tell them this is what's going to happen, but make them note. Let them have a journal that, okay, at this time I noticed right nostril or left nostril. Similarly, as and when they begin to meditate, make them feel whether they're radiating energy or absorbing energy at any given moment. Whenever they feel that I should observe this phenomena of energy, let them see whether they are oozing out or absorbing in this energy. Slightly subtle in aspect. And as you go more and more into our spiritual dimensions, try to observe your emptiness. See how empty you are. So there are levels and levels of observations, dimensions and dimensions from which you can see, from which we can feel. But this simple training can begin very early. Every child is different. So we can inspire them. See? When I'm closed, when my room is somehow partially closed and I'm sitting in my chair and meditating, my granddaughter she'll do like this, shh, Dada is meditating. And she would quietly sit outside. So this is also a kind of a training, see, which can be provided. And when children see you meditate, they also try to mimic you. And it's a beautiful sight to see. I often advise my friends, their early days when the children were just coming up, growing. I said, when they see you meditate, and when they also begin to meditate, pretending to meditate perhaps, doesn't matter. Take a photograph when they're 3-year old, 4-year old, and you have taken photograph and you kept it in the room. When they grow up, you keep those photographs in the teenager's room that look, once upon a time you did take interest in meditation. See, you felt really good when you were younger. Try to see it, how you feel it now. So somehow they will be able to emotionally connect with themselves. And again, who knows, take up this practice in a very serious way. Oh, I was doing it when I was 3-year-old, 4-year-old. Why can't I do it now? This will give them some inspiration as well. When you're walking with our little ones, make them inhale without plucking the flowers. Each flower on the way. Make them feel the difference in fragrance from flower to flower. See? Make them feel the touch of various leaves in the garden that you have. Various fabric, the fabric of your sofa, fabric of your trouser, fabric of your sari, fabric of your jacket. Make them feel so that they can differentiate these touch sensations. And this has its appeal in the development of their brain. See? They'll be able to recollect and develop a finer sense of touch, fragrance, sight, and so many other things. The real nuances are when they master themselves in differentiating various feelings. That's what we are trying to head into that direction, and how to transcend feelings at a later date. That's why the emphasis on observing the emptiness when one begins to meditate. Anyway, in a sense, how we can inspire them to take interest in things so that they can observe, and through observation, they can finally conclude. Thank you.